One last battle to hold the line against the night.
The line must be drawn here. This far, no farther.
Hold the line. No one gets through, no matter what.
Sir, what are your orders?
There's only one order, Lieutenant. We hold.
Incoming transmission.
Allied reinforcements have arrived from the west.
On Mojo 50 Radio. The Millennial Conservative Resistance begins right here, right now.
Oh, yes indeed, ladies and gentlemen, boys, girls, children of all ages, the new Millennial Conservative Resistance does indeed begin right here, right now with you! You are listening to, and God, I hope you're watching, the Holonet on the mighty Mojo 50. Today it is Saturday. It is the 12th of October in the year of our Lord 2019. The Turks have invaded Syria. That's right, the Turks. You know, you can't go back to Constantinople. Now it stands Istanbul, not Constantinople. Been a long time gone. Constantinople. Why did Constantinople get the works? It's nobody's business but the Turks have invaded Syria. Now this is something we've talked about here on the Holonet for quite some time, is understanding that the government of Recep Tayyip Erdogan, people have called him Erdogan, you know, it's Erdogan, how you pronounce it, in the Turkish, hashtag like a native. Erdogan's Turkey is not an ally to the United States in anything but name. They are nominally a U.S. non-NATO ally, actually a member of NATO by extension of treaty. We have our Air Force Base there at Incirlik Air Force Base, where we have nuclear weapons. That is a major hub of activity of the United States in the Middle East. They are de facto our allies, but in name only. Ideologically, their goals do not match ours in the region. We've aligned with different groups. They've aligned very staunchly against the Kurdish YPG, or People's Protection Groups. Now, when you hear People's Protection Groups, that smacks a little socialist. It should. These are groups that have espoused Marxist ideology. So even then, we have to question, how aligned ideologically are we with the Kurds? For that, you have to do a little bit of digging. You have to do a little bit of research, and more than just a cursory glance, to understand the tumultuous relationship between the United States and the Kurds. And you have to go all the way back. I mean, you have to jump in the Wayback Machine. You have to go all the way back to World War I, Woodrow Wilson and Sykes-Picot. Because this is not the first time that the United States has, quote-unquote, abandoned the Kurds. And you know what? It's really, really rough for those people, for the Kurdish people. They have routinely had the backs of the world turned on them over and over and over and over again. They share this in common with the Armenians and the Yazidis and other groups the Turks have gone after that the world just makes itself blind and deaf to. They don't really want to talk about it. They don't want to talk about the Armenian genocide. They don't want to talk about the fact that the Kurds have been screwed over for a century by the Western world. The Kurds would be fools to completely trust anyone at this stage. Woodrow Wilson sold them out. One of my big heroes, Winston Churchill, sold them out. They were sold out by Neville Chamberlain at every turn. Over and over and over again, the Kurdish homeland was supposed to be established on the Nineveh Plain. In the bordering region between Iraq, Iran, and Syria, that northern plains area. That was, for a little while there, the semi-autonomous region of Kurdistan, which was a part of Iraq, with some bleed over into Syria and also into Iran. Hell, in their greater Kurdistan concept, that goes all the way up into Turkey, and that's where we have a problem. The Kurds have been fighting insurgent operations against the Turks for decades. The Kurds and the Turks do not get along. As soon as the United States withdrew our token force, as soon as President Donald Trump ordered this, the gates were open for the Turks to finally solve this problem. Now, there are two groups. There's an internal group of the Kurds within Turkey who are an acknowledged terrorist group. This is called the PPG, I believe. And this is, why the Kurds have not been abandoned by the United States, according to Mike Esper. He says, "We have not abandoned the Kurds. Let me be clear about this," Defense Secretary Mark Esper told reporters. "We have not abandoned them. Nobody green-lighted the operation by Turkey. Just the opposite. We pushed back very hard at all levels for the Turks not to commence this operation." He spoke shortly before American forces came under Turkish artillery fire at a small outpost in northeastern Syria. No Americans were hurt, and the Turks insist the Americans were not targeted. But the strike shows how swiftly the conflict is descending into turmoil. Esper's remarks appeared aimed at strengthening the Trump administration's argument that it did all it could to stop the Turks, and failing that was left with no reasonable option but to pull some U.S. troops away from the border. It's unclear how far the Turks will take their offensive or how badly the Kurds will be hit, and whether U.S. forces will be compelled to withdraw entirely in coming days. So, a lot of people on the right have been strongly criticizing President Trump for pushing back American forces to the south of Syria, withdrawing from the northern border with Turkey and allowing the Turks, by default, to cross over the border and take over the regions that they want to. What's the alternative here? Are we ready to go to war with Turkey over Syria? Are we ready to break bonds with one of our nominal allies? Are we ready to finally admit that that relationship is a sham? I really don't think we are. About a year ago, I pointed out the places that we need to watch are Turkey and Syria, China, because, China launching aircraft carriers for the first time ever, and the world just kind of collectively yawned. Now we're seeing China's more and more aggressive stance on Hong Kong. Has to be making Taiwan nervous. We know it's making Japan nervous because they've launched their first aircraft carriers since World War II. The IJN Izumo and the Kaga. Do you think that name doesn't carry a lot of historical weight? President Trump, I think, is doing everything he can to do two things right now. Keep this country out of World War III and keep his job. Real quick, before we dive into anything further, because I know that was a little all over the map, my show plan is shot today. I was supposed to record this last night, but wound up having to go to the doc and get some things checked out. Not Doc Thompson, and I wish we could go to the doc and get some things checked out. But yeah, I had to go to the doctor, get a few things looked at, because I'm a bit too chubby, and I really do need to take better care of myself. But as far as taking better care of myself, there's something that you can do right now and that I really need to start doing, is taking care of my gut health. And that's with Atrantil, the best way to do that. You can do that on lovemytummy.com/mojo. Again, lovemytummy.com/mojo. Use promo code MOJO. And that's $99 3-month supply. Now, Atrantil gives you the polyphenols that your body craves, that your body needs in order to regulate your gut health, reduce bloating, reduce gas, and overall improve your quality of life. It's proven by Dr. Ken Brown. It's been thoroughly researched that these polyphenols help to reduce the bloating and help to reduce the gas production and smooth over your digestive issues. And all of your body's health originates from the gut and from the flora that you have there. So do something for yourself. Check out Atrantil, lovemytummy.com/mojo. Use promo code MOJO for 3 bottles, a 3-month supply for $99. All right? So now, back to the descent into insanity that we're experiencing right now. Just as things are heating up in Turkey and Syria, and people are berating President Trump for abandoning the Kurds, where abandoning the Kurds has apparently become a fashion for the last 100 years, now we're talking about quantitative easing again. You remember quantitative easing?
Was this largely, Mike, what we were expecting?
Hang on.
Yes.
Sorry, that's a report from the Fed on Bloomberg. That we're now talking about quantitative easing again. This is the Fed pumping money into the American economy. The Fed is about to start buying $60 billion of Treasury notes per month. That's not one time, that's per month, with many wondering if it is leading the charge back into quantitative easing. Now, quantitative easing is simply put, printing effing money. Now, Mr. Powell, Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell, said he said very clearly, in no sense is this QE, except in the sense that it was first used in the modern era when the Bank of Japan carried out exactly the operation the Fed is now planning, buying treasury bills for the purpose of boosting the stock of reserves or deposits held by the bank. Linguistically, this is what used to be considered quantitative easing. Former Chairman Ben Bernanke was clear about the definition in 2009 when he tried to explain that the Fed wasn't engaged in quantitative easing. The Fed has given up on that battle and accepted that what it did back then was QE, or quantitative easing. In that process, it has redefined what quantitative easing is, so what the Bank of Japan used to do, with little if any effect, is presumably no longer quantitative easing, apparently. So they're juggling the definition of what is and is not quantitative easing. Point blank, the Fed is going to be pumping money into the American economy. Free money! We know what happens when free money floods the economy. It happened in 2008. It happened under the late term of President George Bush, and it happened under President Barack Obama. Buckle your seatbelts, kids. This is not a good sign. When we're in the midst of a serious trade debacle with China, it's getting worse and worse every day as American companies, by droves, are now cashing out their freedom of expression and freedom of speech to their employees in favor of wooing Beijing. You have the socioeconomic pressure as a result of Hong Kong. And now you have potential conflict with Turkey in the Middle East, combined with quantitative easing. This is a ticking time bomb. Now, the 2020 election. If I was a conspiratorial sort of guy, and I'm really not a conspiracy guy, this has kind of the markings almost of a fire sale, where everything that can go wrong does. And it's all lining up simultaneously around this 2020 election, where the American people will cast their ballots and they will speak in a unified voice. They will either give mandate to the far left's insanity of huge government spending, of the nanny state, of socialist ideology, or they will rebuke it soundly with a mandate for President Trump. One way or another, it's looking like we're in for some difficult times. China must be confronted. Without doubt, whether that confrontation is economic, military, or diplomatic, China must be confronted. And Donald Trump, the president, has been the only president in my lifetime who has demonstrated the willingness to do so. If not the craft necessary, but at least the willingness to do so. And in fits and starts, he's done reasonably well. I cannot see Elizabeth Warren taking a hard stance against China. I can't imagine anybody on the left doing so right now. Can you? Can you really? You know, I've tried to walk a very fine line here on the HoloNet, where I'm not, quote-unquote, in the bag for President Trump. where I am not just a mindless Trumpophile who cheers on everything the president does. I've tried to have my own discernment and my own discretion, because that's what you need to do. That's what we need to do here at Mojo 50. That's what all conservative and libertarian media need to do. We can't just go, screw our principles because it's our guy. Yeah. No. We need to show discernment. And I admit, I'm very torn over the situation with the Kurds, but I have to examine it from all sides. Number one, were the Kurds true and worthy allies of the United States to begin with, or was it yet another case of the enemy of my enemy is my friend? Where we have these Marxist, socialist, Kurdish nationalist groups on this side who I really don't agree with anything that they espouse, but on this side I have ISIS, and we need to stop ISIS. We really need to stop ISIS. So I'm gonna clutch you to me. We're gonna lock arms. We're gonna stand against ISIS. Now that they're gone, what do I do about you? You're really pissing off the Turks. Do I really want to get in between this, and do I want to shed American blood in the process for a fight that we really have very little to do with? Because, like I said, the United States sold out the ambitions of a Kurdish state in the days of Woodrow Wilson, right alongside the Armenians. These are groups of people who did not get a seat at the table at Versailles. Okay, they did not get considered in the reorganization of the Middle East through the Sykes-Picot Agreement post the defeat of the Ottoman Empire. And then you have the Turks. You have Recep Tayyip Erdogan, who has wrapped himself, he has clothed himself in the ideological and cultural trappings of the Ottoman Empire. And now here come the Turkish forces barreling over the border into Syria. Does Recep Tayyip Erdogan have ambitions of setting up Syria as the Vilayet of Aleppo again? The Vilayet of Aleppo, by the way, a Vilayet, for those of us who did not examine Ottoman history in full, that's basically a sub-state. It's a suzerain state. So is he trying to set up Syria as a puppet state of Ankara again? Or is he going to turn around and move the capital back to Istanbul? You don't know. Because we're seeing in Turkey this neo-Ottomanism where suddenly what was once a truly secular state with the military as the hedge, as the guard against religious extremism and religious rule, now that's crumbling. And you're seeing more of an Islamist state under President Erdogan. And in Russia now, in Russia now, you're seeing Vladimir Putin now as the elder statesman. He seems to be chilling out now. You know, he's not going out there and taking pictures wrestling bears. Now he's kind of like doing the GQ pose on a rock and just chilling, you know, showing himself to be the elder statesman, the subtle man in response to President Trump's bombastic nature. He's playing like the chess master. And you notice Russia's been quiet lately. They've been really quiet lately because, hey, since the Turks are starting a bunch of shit, America really forgot about Ukraine and the Crimea. So, we're just going to keep quiet about it. And we're going to keep supplying these separatist groups in Donetsk and Luhansk. And, wait. No, we're not. No, we're not providing resources and material support for people trying to break away from the Ukraine. That's not true. Fake news. We're going to keep doing that. And maybe, just maybe, all this Ukrainian BS, they won't mind if we take it back. Shh. Have you considered that? That with all this BS happening in Kiev, all of this is steadily delegitimizing the government in Kiev. All of this leads back to Russia again. Russia's been very, very quiet of late. Turkey is having their day right now in Syria. Their troops are pouring over the border, and I'm sure that's making Bashar al-Assad feel a certain way, because that's not his Iranian buddies coming over the border. No, that's the Turks. And the Iranians do not want a piece of Turkey right now. So how far will they let that go? Will the Turks continue pushing forward until they're sitting there in Damascus, dictating terms to Bashar al-Assad to end this thing already? And how many nations in the world will applaud? Just say, yes, just end it already. How much you want to bet Recep Tayyip Erdogan comes out of this one looking like the big hero? Because you go to a story from The Guardian, okay, by Simon Tisdall. It says Erdogan has managed the unthinkable, uniting all the other Middle Eastern rivals. Turkey's Syria invasion following the U.S. withdrawal of its troops means that all bets are now off in the Middle East. By invading northern Syria last week, Recep Tayyip Erdogan achieved what many thought impossible, uniting all the regional countries and rival powers with a stake in the country in furious opposition to what they see as a reckless, destabilizing move. Truculent nationalist populist with dictatorial tendencies, Erdogan has often cast himself as one man against the world during 16 consecutive years as Turkey's prime minister and president. Now he really is on his own. Fighting along the border is limited so far, but could quickly change. Should hostilities intensify, a broader Turkish advance into densely populated areas could entail significant civilian casualties, displace many inhabitants, and fuel local insurgency, the International Crisis Group warned. Even as the EU, the US, Russia, Iran, and other Arab states voiced their differing objections to the invasion, which Turkey terms as a, quote, peace operation. Excuse me. Each is simultaneously trying to adjust to it, looking for an advantage or leverage as the balance of power in Syria shifts again. Erdogan's doubtlessly anticipated Europe's hostile reaction. His response was a threat to send 3.6 million Syrian refugees westward. Was contemptuous. He knows the EU's words are not matched by action, nor is he fazed by calls to suspend Turkey from NATO. Excuse me. Well, perhaps you can't go back to Constantinople, because Constantinople is Istanbul. But it looks like Erdogan might be waiting in Istanbul. It'll be very interesting over the course of the weeks to come to see how far Turkey pushes into Syria and how quickly Erdogan takes up the abandoned mantle of the Ottoman viziers and sultans and princes and emperors of old. Do you think we may have a new caliph on our hands? A new caliphate? Centered as it was again around Istanbul? Was the defeat of ISIS and Bakr al-Baghdadi's pretender empire of the caliphate only pretext for the restoration of the Ottoman rulers of the Muslim world? Something to think about, especially coming into the most divisive presidential election we may see in my lifetime. When we come back, China, and more insanity here from the United States. You're listening to the Holonet on the mighty Mojo 50, and before I go, I want to tell you a little bit about KBMD CBD. Go on mojo50.com/shop. Check out KBMD CBD oils. Use promo code MATT for 15% off. Take a break now. When we come back, on to China.
that swing. It don't mean a thing if you ain't got that swing. It don't mean a thing if you ain't got that swing. It don't mean a thing if you ain't got that swing. It makes no difference if it's sweet or hot. Just give that rhythm everything you got. Don't mean a thing if you ain't got that swing.
On Mojo 50 Radio, the millennial conservative resistance begins right here, right now.
Yes, we're back. You're listening to Holonet on Mojo 50. Got a little cut off there because apparently I don't know how to time a break to save my soul. But I did want to finish telling you about CBD oils from KBMD. Dr. Ken Brown, he's a butt man. Make sure to check out KBMD CBD oils on mojo50.com/shop. Use promo code MATT, gets you $15 off of your purchase. If you haven't tried CBD oil, seriously look into it because it works very well along with the aforementioned Atrantil to help you with consistent pain, help you with digestive issues. There are a lot of benefits to it. It's a hemp extract derived from specifically bred industrial hemp plants with a high CBD content. The hemp is grown organically and the oil is CO2 extracted. The resulting extract is then added to an easy-to-use dropper bottle containing 900 milligrams of CBD cannabis oil. It is a wholesome extract. It's not a synthetic. It's not an isolate. It contains all the synergistic cannabinoids, terpenoids, and essential oils, and the other compounds of the original plant. If you suffer from nagging joint discomfort, difficulty sleeping, frequent inflammation, mood swings, or gut problems, KBMD CBD may deliver real relief. So again, check that out, mojo50.com/shop, KBMD CBD oil, and use promo code MATT for $15 off. So, I said we were going to get back to China because Hong Kong is still there, guys. The NBA is castigating their own players and members and fans for chanting "Free Hong Kong" and for supporting the efforts of the people of Hong Kong. And CNN reports Hong Kong could be a tipping point as warning flags are unfurled at the Chinese military barracks. I'll go to that story now off of Google News. Chinese military garrison in Hong Kong offered a rare public reaction in the face of taunts from protesters Sunday as violence escalated across the city over the weekend. Video from Hong Kong public broadcaster RTHK shows a yellow flag raised from atop a People's Liberation Army building in Kowloon Tong in north of Kowloon, warning protesters they could be prosecuted if they continued to approach the barracks. The flag appears to be similar to those used by the police during protests. Half a dozen personnel could be seen standing on top of the barracks, shining flashlights at the dozens of protesters below, who were aiming laser pointers and other lights at the building. The incident is believed to be the first known interaction between the People's Liberation Army and the protesters during the 18 weeks of anti-government demonstrations. 18 weeks. Police sources told CNN that it was not the police on the roof of the building, but it was personnel from the People's Liberation Army responding to the crowd. At no point did the soldiers venture from the garrison. CNN has reached out to the office of the Hong Kong Chief Executive, the People's Liberation Army in Hong Kong, and the Chinese Defense Ministry for comment. The interaction comes after protests intensified over the weekend following Hong Kong Chief Executive Carrie Lam's use of emergency powers to ban face masks at the public gathering. And if you see online, there are now images where people are painting the V for Vendetta symbol all over Hong Kong. They are just reaching to every single meme, every single cultural touchstone, indicating a fight for freedom against a tyrannical government. And the United States, as I've stressed in previous shows, we're in no position to intervene. And our businesses, our corporate powers here in the United States, are falling all over themselves to kowtow to China. South Park recently being one of the most recent casualties involved, when the creators Matt and Trey Parker dared to point out the hypocrisy of bowing to China. Boom, South Park is erased from all media in China almost overnight. And now, in a recent step, the Taiwan flag emoji has disappeared from the latest Apple keyboard. Tim Cook explaining why Apple sold out Hong Kong protesters, now doubling down. Apple sells out pro-democracy protesters to appease the Chinese government. This according to Gizmodo in Australia. Apple CEO Tim Cook explained why his company decided to succumb to China's pressure and remove an app that was being used by Hong Kong pro-democracy protesters. Protesters have been using the HK Map Live app to monitor police movement based on crowdsourced inputs. Apple removed the app a few days ago, but then reinstated it and then pulled it again on Wednesday, a day after the People's Daily, a Chinese state-run news platform, published a piece that proposed Apple was complicit in illegal acts by helping protesters engage in more violence. Reuters reports that Cook defended the decision in a statement posted at an internal company site, saying, "It's no secret that technology can be used for good or ill. This case is no different." So now we see that Tim Cook is very clearly stating that the protesters in Hong Kong are not a force for good. That's implicit. Excuse me. He went on to say the company received credible information from users and Hong Kong Cybersecurity and Technological Crime Bureau and subsequently determined HKMap.live was used maliciously to target individual officers for violence and to victimize individuals and property where no police are present. This use put the app in violation of Hong Kong law. Similarly, widespread abuse clearly violates our App Store guidelines, barring personal harm. Apple confirmed to Reuters that the letter was written by Cook. The company did not immediately respond to a Gizmodo request for further information. National and international debates will outlive us all, he said, and while important, they do not govern the facts. In this case, we thoroughly reviewed them, and we believe this is the decision that best protects our users. More like that's the decision that best protects your bottom line, Tim, because Apple has extensive manufacturing ties to China, as anybody with half a brainstem can assert. So don't paint this in the guise of protecting people and being responsible on a corporate basis. This is being responsible to your shareholders, my friend, and no one else. Well, speaking of shareholders and making money and stuff, you know who I haven't talked about in a long time? Cat coolers. It's a cooler so rugged it changes everything. Cat coolers are really cool. Cat coolers are rugged. They keep ice cold for 7 days. They're made here in the USA. They're fully customizable. They come in 4 different colors: white, black, yellow, and camouflage. Anything else you want to put in there for spring or summer, it works out well. Now here in Arizona, it's kind of funny. My in-laws are out camping right now. Like, people up in Colorado are freezing their buns off. Everybody's complaining, oh, it's getting cold. Arizona, this is like peak camping season right now. This is like one of the sweet spots because it's gorgeous outside. So it's a great time to go fishing, great time to go camping. I love the cold nights. I was up in Payson, Arizona the other day for work, and it was beautiful. It was like 62 degrees. Oh, it's great. So for a cat cooler, you take that bad boy with you. 7 days of ice. Keep that beer cold, keep those sandwiches cold, whatever you drink, whatever you eat, you can do it. You can use promo code HOLLOW, HOLLOW, and that code is good for a 10% discount on a cat cooler. So use code HOLLOW for your cat cooler. Get it today. You can put a picture on there. Like, if you really want to be like super, super cool, you can take like the HoloNet Betsy. Like, here, I'll pull up the image here. I can do it. Hang on. Where's the HoloNet logo? Where did it go? No. Yeah, okay, so I'll go to my cut. And that's going to look awesome. Like, throw the HoloNet Betsy logo on there. It'll look really cool. Throw it right on the top. And then you got your Betsy Ross style happening. Your flag with HN for the HoloNet. Do it up. Come on. If you need the code for that, or I will put that up on the comments here. That's code HOLLOW, HOLLOW, for $10 off. Actually, I'm sorry, 10% off of your cat cooler. And I will actually put up the logo up on the page as well, the code for the logo, so that way you can download that. But do it today. Cat coolers. Keep your foods and drinks fresher, colder, longer. catcoolers.com. Check it out. All right. Now that I got that done with, my lord. So is there a good possible resolution to this whole China business? I mean, you've got Blizzard now. Like, I'm a gamer. You've got Blizzard now taking sides in this thing. Banning people from the online gaming leagues. Blizzard Entertainment responded to backlash regarding a player suspended for supporting Hong Kong. This is from the Daily Wire 4 hours ago. If you haven't heard this story, this is about as crazy as it gets. A Hearthstone player, okay, I'm not even going to pronounce that, but his online tag is Blitzchung, Ng-Wei Chung, was banned by Blizzard from playing tournament-style Hearthstone after he expressed support for the Hong Kong protesters during an after-match interview. Blitzchung appeared on camera wearing a gas mask, which he took off to say, "Liberate Hong Kong, revolution of our age," in Chinese. The two interviewers hid behind their desk to avoid being associated with his statement. Hang on. Let's unpack that for a second, all right? You're a journalist. Even if you're a gaming journo, which is like, they're slightly better than me because they actually get paid. But, I mean, gaming journos are like bottom rung. I mean, in like the journalistic pyramid, you have like your Tom Brokaws, your Peter Jennings, your up until last week, Shepard Smiths, up at the top. They're your normal what's the word I'm looking for? Newscaster, right? Your Edward R. Morrows, Walter Cronkites. That's like the dream everybody wants to be. That's at the top. Then you have like your embedded war reporters, I guess, as far as the glamour goes. Then you have your kind of news politics guys. Then down from there, you have your local guys, right? Your local news reporters, your street reporter, your man on the street reporter. Sorry, my allergies are killing me. I'm wetting my nose a lot. Your man on the street reporter. And then down from there, you have like your national sports reporters, your local sports reporters, and then your gaming journos are at like the bottom. And then you have like small timers like me and citizen journalists that are out there with a cell phone and a dream. Okay? So these guys are not that high on the totem pole. They are so scared of losing their friggin' careers just for being on the same screen with somebody who is espousing a pro-Hong Kong viewpoint that they hide behind the desk. Holy shit! Hiding behind the desk to avoid being associated with it. This is how terrified Chinese people, Chinese journalists are of their government. When the government fears the people, there is liberty. Where the people fear the government, there is tyranny. That scene right there is a microcosm for everything about China that you need to know. That didn't help them because Blizzard fired the 2 interviewers anyway. I would have fired them for hiding behind the desk. Blitzchung was suspended from Hearthstone esports tournaments for 1 year and revoked his prize winnings. As the Daily Wire's James Barrett reported, Thursday a backlash against Blizzard ensued. Thank God, gamers of the world unite. Friday night, Blizzard backpedaled somewhat on its punishment of the 3 members of the Hearthstone community. The broadcasters were given a 6-month suspension rather than being fired. Blitzchung's prize money was reinstated, and his suspension was reduced to 6 months as well. At Blizzard, our vision is to bring the world together through epic entertainment, Brack wrote, and we have core values that apply here. Think globally, lead responsibly, and importantly, every voice matters. Encouraging everybody to share their point of view. Are you effing kidding me? With a straight face. With a straight face. The actions that we took over the weekend are causing people to question if we are still committed to those values. Question it? Is that a question now? Oh, damn it, I scrolled the whole screen. Brack then went on to explain that the pre- and post-match interviews are supposed to be about the game, and broadcasters are supposed to keep players focused on the game itself. He explained how Blitzchung violated tournament rules. He said, over the weekend, Blitzchung used his segment to make a statement about the situation in Hong Kong. In violation of rules he acknowledged and understood, and this is why we took action. Every voice matters, and we strongly encourage everyone in our community to share their viewpoints in the many places available to express themselves. However, the official broadcast needs to be about the tournament and to be a place where all are welcome. In support of that, we want to keep the official channels focused on the game. Brack then claimed that part of thinking globally, leading responsibly, and every voice matters is recognized that we have players and fans in almost every country in the world. Therefore, Brack wrote, Blizzard's goal is to help players connect in areas of community like their passion for our games and create a sense of shared community. Brack insisted that Blitzchung's message was not the reason for his punishment. Well, I can't even bullshit that hard. Was not the reason for his punishment, and that our relationship with China had no influence on our decision. Sure. Brack then claimed that a player voicing the opposing viewpoint would have also been punished. Right. The president of Blizzard Entertainment then acknowledged that the company reacted too quickly before explaining the new punishments for the 3 community members. Because Blitzchung's comments had nothing to do with how he actually played the game, his prize money was reinstated. Brack did, however, suggest that the company would continue to restrict what players can and can't say during interviews about their matches. So, on the one side, it's Blizzard's game, it's Blizzard's network, it's Blizzard's show. They can control what content is said. There's that. However, does that mean that we, as conservatives and libertarians, cannot call out what is on its face an act of cowardice? I don't think so. I really do believe that you can call out cowardice in the face of statist tyrannical intervention without being a hypocrite in that regard. They undoubtedly bowed to pressure from China. Undoubtedly. Of course, it's their network. They can do what they want. Businesses here in the United States are their own businesses, and they can do what they want. The NBA can do what they want. Blizzard can do what they want. But you know what? As an American of conscience, I can do what I want. And I can call out cowardice when I see it. And you can call out cowardice when you see it. And you can make the choice to vote with your dollars, as I've called upon you to do so many times, as I call upon myself to do. And we can vote with our dollars. Now, there's a certain coffee establishment which my wife and I were quite fond of. We actually had our first date in one. And we found that this coffee establishment, whose name I tactfully will not use on my show, so as to give no illusion that there is ever any sort of a promotional relationship between us, because there is not. There is quite, in fact, the opposite. There is antipathy. They made the decision, I think I reported on this when it happened. They made the decision to bar some police officers from their premises, and they've made repeated decisions over the years to stand in direct opposition to everything I hold dear, to all of my deepest held political and cultural convictions, and their ownership made it very clear that they don't care what I think and people of like mind think, that they don't need our business, nor do they want it. So in return, I find myself drinking APR coffee, the official coffee of Mojo 50. And I don't miss it. I really don't. I just roll my eyes when I see their headlines about their latest gaffe. We need to vote with our dollars. We have the same ability to exert pressure on these companies that China has. China can exert pressure on these companies because they control the manufacturing side and they control a part of the demand. We control a huge part of the demand for these companies' services, and we need to make our voices heard. So vote with your dollars. If you don't like what the NBA is doing, don't go to the games. Don't watch them. It's not a big sacrifice for me. I'm not an NBA fan, but all right. Actions have consequences. Make their actions have consequences. I'm not going to tell you to boycott the NBA. It's your decision. It's not my job to rankle that up. But what I will tell you is this. You have power. I don't have my wallet on me, otherwise I'd pull it out. But every dollar you have is power. It is the power of your labor, the power of your education, the power of the work and your productivity that you leverage in the world. You are powerful. We are all together very, very powerful if we act in accordance with our principles. Vote with your dollars. If you don't like what the corporate globalists are doing, vote with your dollars. Support local. Support local businesses. Tell all these big internationals and national companies, go screw with themselves. Go vote with your dollars for the little guy next door. I saw something online that I loved yesterday. It was buy local, make somebody do a happy dance. Seriously, think about that. If you're in sales and you've ever worked for a small local company, you know how crucial each sale is to you, how invested you are spiritually. Talk to a realtor, all right, about this. How deeply invested you are in every single sale. Don't go with these big, huge, no-name companies. Shop local wherever you can. Shop small. Like, go to combatflipflops.com. Use that promo code HOLLOW25. This is a small, veteran-owned company. This is not Nike. This is not Adidas or Fila or insert huge shoe company here. CombatFlipFlops.com, promo code HOLLOW25. Get your 25% off there. Okay? But vote with your dollars. Use your power for good. You have power with every dollar in your pocket. You have power with every word you speak or you type. You have power with your vote this November. Well, not this November, next November. You know what I meant. Damn it. We feel so powerless today in the face of the mainstream media, in the face of corporate America, in the face of the leftists who've taken over Hollywood. And let's call a spade a spade. The socialists who have taken over Hollywood. The hellish fusion of this massive feminist, socialist, globalist hodgepodge that is now taking over the left. You have the ability to rebuke these people, to rebuke this mindset every day through every dollar you spend and every word you say. If I do nothing else in this world that helps politically, that helps culturally, if I do nothing else, if I accomplish nothing else, at least I need to help you realize your own power, where that power lives. And it all boils down to the new millennial conservative resistance begins right here, right now, with you. There's no other reason for me to sit here spend an hour a week ranting at a camera and a nice microphone and, toss up a green screen behind me that looks impressive and come to you live from the forward operations facility of Mojo 50 in the Sonoran Desert. I do all of this to remind you of your power. It is your power that put me here. It's your watches, your likes, your shares, your views, your comments. So please, present those in abundance. Please support our sponsors here on Mojo 50. Support Atrantil, lovemytummy.com. Support KBMD CBD oil. Support Cat Coolers. If you want to support the HoloNet directly, support Combat Flip-Flops, where we have that offer with them for Hollow 25. Support the other fantastic hosts here on Mojo 50. Support Andrew Coppins. Support Audrey with Real Talk. Sorry, I don't remember Audrey's last name, but I listened to her show last week. It was solid. Solid. I mean, she got headliners on, man. She got I can't remember his name now. Adam West. I think she had Adam West though. No, not Adam West. Not Batman. Alan West. Adam West. Yes, old chum. She had Adam West on. Dominic Izzo, Rants of Izzo, Defenders Live, The Bells of Liberty. Support your favorite Mojo 50 hosts. Support each other. And now we're going to be coming up very quickly on a new opportunity to support each other by getting off of the services that don't support us. If you haven't checked it out already, check out Freedom Hard. It's Freedom Hard. Do you freedom hard? I'd freedom so hard. Freedom Hard. You can find the HoloNet on there. It's a very basic page. I haven't done a lot with it yet. But you're going to find more and more people from Mojo 50 moving over to Freedom Hard to get away from Facebook, get away from Twitter. You can find the HoloNet now on Freedom Hard. We're still on MeWe. We're on Gab AI. We're on Minds. We're on Parlay. Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and BitChute. So please check that out there. In the meanwhile, that's the show for this week. Remember your power and exercise it every day in freedom. Good night. God bless you. God bless the United States of America. From Phoenix, end transmission.